The China-US economic and trade talks have concluded. On the surface, it was a warm drama of shaking hands and reconciling, but beneath the surface, it was all an offensive and defensive battle with hidden knives. To put it bluntly, neither side closed the door entirely, yet neither left much dignity for the other. The so-called constructive essentially means they didn't break down in a quarrel, but to think everything could be completely resolved is just a pipe dream. The 90-day extension, is it a delaying tactic or a hidden trap? The additional 90-day extension proposed by U.S. Representative Greer is not so much a concession as a way to give Trump a way to back down. After all, the tariff truce was set to expire on August 12. If they really pressed the start button for Trade War 2.0 immediately, U.S. stocks could directly stage a circuit breaker scenario for Trump. Reuters specifically highlighted triple-digit tariffs to intimidate, with the implicit message clear: these 90 days are not a peace agreement but a countdown. If no deal is reached after 90 days, tariffs of 100% or more will still come crashing down, and the market shouldn't complain then. What's more interesting is that Chinese Representative Li said things would proceed as scheduled, indicating that at the technical level, the script for the extension had long been checked and confirmed. This means tariffs won't get out of hand immediately for at least the next 3 months, but Trump has become the scapegoat. Bessent and Greer kept emphasizing it was the president's decision, shirking all responsibility. If the stock market plummets after August 12, the Treasury Department and the Office of the Trade Representative can immediately distance themselves. It was our boss who made the call, it has nothing to do with us. This kind of operation, where all political risks are pinned on one person, is, to put it plainly, first to save one's own skin and then sit back and watch the spectacle. China's 24% reciprocal tariff extension is another form of loss-cutting strategy. In other words, China can continue to freeze retaliatory tariffs, but the U.S. must first take synchronized actions. If the U.S. dares to break the agreement, the previously suspended 24% tariffs will take effect immediately. This statement is essentially drawing a red line for the U.S. Behind the mutual disclosure of cards lies the fact that neither side can afford to drag things out. In the talks, the phrase conducting comprehensive and in-depth exchanges on macroeconomic policies may sound like official jargon, but in reality, it was a case of both sides putting knives to each other's throats as a mutual reminder. It is highly likely that China directly warned the U.S. face-to-face, if you really dare to raise tariffs on China to over 100% while planning to cut interest rates in September, your inflation data will end up slapping you in the face. The U.S. was not polite either, directly hitting China's weak spot. Your Q2 GDP deflator has turned negative. If exports collapse further, can employment hold up? To put it bluntly, this is a showdown between two major economies. Neither should push the other into a corner. If they really tear each other apart, the U.S. won't be able to rein in inflation, and China won't be able to stabilize exports, resulting in a lose-lose situation for both. Beneath the political rhetoric lie the truths. Phrases like fully affirming the Geneva Consensus and the London Framework may seem like nice words to report back to their respective domestic audiences. In reality, the Geneva Consensus is probably just a euphemism for the Joint Working Group continuing to hold weekly video conferences, meetings that achieve nothing. The London Framework is even simpler. Old issues like technology export controls and agricultural product purchases will just keep being dragged out, with neither side willing to make concessions. However, the waters of China-US negotiations are even murkier than those of the EU. Rare earths, fentanyl, TikTok, and the Taiwan question are all intertwined, each being a powder keg capable of igniting public opinion. Trump's comment that things feel better than yesterday is a classic smokescreen. Saying things feel good can stabilize the market, and if he later backtracks, he can always change his tune. After all, feelings are intangible and hard to pin down. Most notably, there's the 20% tariff on fentanyl. The U.S. has long made it clear that this tariff will mostly stay in place unless China produces tangible results. In late June, China added 2 fentanyl precursors to its strict control list, intending it as a goodwill gesture for the talks. However, the U.S. only cares about political weight, not obligations under UN agreements. This means that even if a 90-day truce is reached, this 20% tariff will remain like a thorn that Trump can pull out to sting China at any time. There's another more insidious move. The U.S. suddenly brought up China's purchases of oil from Russia and Iran in the negotiations. Ostensibly discussing trade, it was actually testing the boundaries of secondary sanctions. China's response, firmly opposing long-arm jurisdiction, made its stance clear: trying to use energy security to manipulate China is out of the question. But the fact that this issue was tabled means the US could bring it up again to create trouble at any point. In the end, this round of talks saw no breakthroughs. Instead, both sides laid bare their cards and vulnerabilities. The 90-day extension is not an end, but the start of a new round of gamesmanship. Whether Trump will press the button on tariff escalation, and whether China's countermeasures will take effect as scheduled, remains to be seen after August 12. But one thing is certain: the economic and trade tug-of-war between China and the US will drag on.